bill, I guess, if you already have two.
It's like, yeah,
Well,
it's another one.
Yeah.
it
But
depends on if you have help or not. If you got
right,
help,
yeah.
yeah,
True.
yeah. So no, if we were at,
Well,
back.
let's rewind then, right quick, since we are live now on YouTube, and let's start off with some good news then. Since Dave is fine with going public,
Oh yeah.
and let our audience know the good news.
Oh, good news is I have another child on the way. That's the good news.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you guys and our YouTube viewers. Thank you.
And
But
it was crazy though. So, Dave, I think you noticed. I know I talked about it a ton on the D and Davis show that I was going to go ahead and put mine out the pasture. You know, I'm
Yeah.
you stopped at one.
See, that's why
I'm stopping at one. Yes, but I'm going. I got a doctor's appointment coming up, and I'm just like, hey man, I need that referral to get that yeah. So as Dave had the bottle, I thought Dave was drinking. I said he was picking it up for me. Same thing. Dave, keep on going. I'm shutting this down too. So congratulations, Dave.
You Dave don't start drinking until the baby gets here.
I mean, I don't think it's that. I think a lot of the hard years, I don't want to say the hard years of with kids are the growing pains, as far as being a first and second time dad. I think that's really was the challenge. I think now, I'm not a pro at it, but I've seen as much crazy as you can see from small children.
Yeah.
So I don't think any new child will surprise me.
Yeah, y'all good. Y'all 31, man. Y'all good. Y'all good. Now you know what to do now.
Well, you know what to do. Yeah, it's just really about having the bandwidth because it's also kind of starting a new career and being in a new space. I think it's really about having the bandwidth for that. I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, if I didn't have family support, yeah, it wouldn't be feasible.
You'll be drinking for real.
Oh yeah. It would be real tough because there has been definitely some challenging moments. Being a parent, I probably say it's the hardest thing. It's the hardest and I guess at the same time most rewarding thing. So
yeah, you know what? Just I'm a parent too. I have an 8-year-old little girl, Grace, and I was actually talking with my buddy, and I was just kind of going down memory lane. For around like the about 2010 to 2012, 13, I was just kind of filling in on some stuff. And what was bad about at least me, I put this on me. I was chasing my dreams. I was going for my goals, and I was like, yeah, I basically wasn't even around for Chanel's pregnancy, my wife's pregnancy. I was in broadcast school. I was interning at the Score and WVON, and I had a full-time job. So it was kind of like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Let's try to have a baby. It probably won't happen. Boom, it happened. And then I was like in the whirlwind of trying to pursue my dreams. And thank God my wife was great and was and allowed me to, chase those dreams. She could have easily said like, hell no, you keep your ass here. I'm pregnant. You worry about that later. She could have easily said that, but she didn't. Right. And it was kind of like, I wasn't around. I was literally my last day interning at the Score was the night Grace was born.
Oh wow.
So it was kind of like, boom, here's life there, dude. And but that's great. It's great, man. I'm happy for y'all, man. I'm definitely happy for y'all.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we're definitely happy, Dave, and you keep having those babies, so I'll have reasons not to have babies. So
just ship them all back to Chicago to Cal. Hey, Cal, you got them for the summer.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like everything else. I mean, it's not for everybody. I think that it's for if you love them, then that's what's important. I mean, but at the same time, I think everybody's got their pursuits and things they want to do. So do those well is all I can say.
You just gotta know what's right for you, and you did it right, Dave. I mean, you got your woman first, then you had your baby. So you have a good partner.
Oh, you mean I got married first? Oh yeah,
you got your woman first, then you had your babies. Yeah.
Well,
a lot of fools out here.
Everybody, well, I was gonna say when you said get your woman first, I was like, unless you going through test tube, I don't know how you getting it without.
I wasn't talking biologically. I'm talking about
I'm a little slow.
No. I'm just talking about the way that a lot of cats just have babies because of a feeling and not because of a you were more planned out than that.
Yeah. I mean, it's challenging. When you're married, trying to.
Right. Yeah. That's why I don't understand how so many cats just are willingly just so they could say that. And a lot of cats do it off of ego, like just so they could say that they have a kid or something. Or I got 4 kids by 5 girls. I'm out here slanging.
Yeah, I know a cat like that too. I know a cat.
We all know cats like that, man.
Like you got 5 kids by how many women? I mean, take care of them. Good father. Therefore, you wouldn't.
He does that.
He does it, and it's kind of like, man, how could you do it? It's hard enough, man. Me keeping up with Grace, and it's just my wife. I'm like, how can you? Like, my God, how can you do that? But hey, man, some cats, that's their life. That's they was. Hey, that's
I'm gonna share some good news, and I'm gonna tie it in to Dave.
Okay,
I got a little bundle too that's come to me, and that's my settlement check from my car accident last year.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Oh, good. Congrats.
So I got that. I got the check and everything, and I went to the law office and everything. My lawyers represented well for me.
There you go.
Let me shout them out.
Yeah, go ahead and plug them. Oh, they gave you a bag and everything, huh?
Harvey Walner, yeah.
All right.
Gave me a cap too. This is the only time I wear the cap.
Let me see. Oh man, you look like some throwbacks to some Squirrels back in 1985, right there.
Yeah, we're about to play some softball.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah, let's go out the field, man.
Yeah, let's go.
But yeah, Harvey Walner got the money for me. I ain't gonna say how much because I don't want y'all to think that I'm balling or nothing. But what I'm tying this into with having babies and having them recklessly is that there's a bunch of law language and stuff on the settlement papers and stuff, and one of the things on there says that there's no protection from child support on it.
Yeah. That's what for pretty much everything.
Right. Yeah. I could if I had a wild baby out here,
a wild baby.
I got that money.
What's a wild baby?
Just a baby out in the wild.
Please elaborate.
A baby out in the wild,
Is that what Chief Keef was? A baby out of the wild?
Yeah, very much so. Has he been claimed? That boy done got rich, and he still ain't been claimed.
Right.
No. But anyway, I'm saying I'd have been mad hurt though if I knew that I was gonna be giving up 90% of that check.
Ooh, boy, I got it.
Some girl that I knocked up.
Well,
that's another reason why I'm happy. That I'm glad to be where I'm at right now. I'm fine. I'm just fine.
There you go. You good.
Yeah. There you go. I ain't going to get my knees fucked up just so I can give the money to my baby.
Little Cal needs some shoes now. He need a new computer because of quarantine. The one at school gave me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he got little Cal got a he got to get new they study in fractions now. So he got to make sure that he got a good computer. Yeah, they still ain't putting his class in school yet because they done found roaches in the basement.
Oh my God. And they got COVID too?
Yeah, they got COVID. The roaches got COVID.
It's funny you bring up roaches. I'm back in the real estate office I work in. Is based in Long Beach. And I don't know if you guys know in California, like roaches are a thing, like flying roaches. So
Word?
yeah,
Fire.
So effectively, I guess one of them came out to Vince the other day and ended up on one of my fellow brokers' shoulder. He flicked it off on another guy.
Oh no.
They were like, yeah. I was like, so yeah. Well, it added a little bit of entertainment to the day.
Got to get it any way you can.
Yeah, it's just funny. It's been a while since I've seen a roach in Chicago, or especially one that big. But
Apparently, we're overrun by rats now here. So we supposed to be the rattiest city.
more than
You
New
know
York.
what? I don't
More than
I
New
don't
York.
see a lot of rats.
Somebody came out with some report recently that said that we're the top rat city.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of rats. You know what I see at least around
I don't
here,
either. I don't either, actually. Yeah.
I see raccoons and possums. That's what I see. And they bold as
Mhm.
hell. And they bold as hell. I was in the backyard just chilling. And this possum just walks in the gate on my neighbor's side. I would think they'd be like, oh shit, there goes some humans. Let me scatter away. He just kept on walking, like, yeah, hey, what's up, y'all? And went to the other neighbor's yard. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, what is up with these possums nowadays? Just don't care. So that's what I see: raccoons and possums, and a ton of squirrels. That's what I see. I don't see too many rats or roaches.
I'm with you, because the possums and stuff, yeah, those more wild critters, you see those in the on the south side.
Dave, you ready for that one in a few more years? Daddy, I'm hungry.
No, I'm not.
Don't be another one.
I'm not. I'm not ready for that. Yeah. I may have to hop
Mother
off.
mouth to feed.
Yeah, literally.
We understand, brother.
I may have to hop off and hop back on in a sec. I don't want to interrupt things, but yeah, I may need to make a quick detour and come right back. So excuse me.
We can put the camera on you, man. That could be a new segment. Dave feeds the baby.
That's true.
No.
What do we have today, Daddy? Same thing you had yesterday.
I don't need my dysfunction on display.
They did bologna and banana sandwich or something. I'm gonna throw something together for you.
Oh God, no. Listen,
this the story. If you want to see what this is, a story about the rat problem from WBZ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Excuse me. I'll be right back.
All right. Oh wow. I did not know we had a rat problem. I haven't seen it.
All right, little children.
I think most. Oh yeah, I want to overhear that with Dave's cooking segment with the kids.
I know. Cooking with Dave.
Yeah, feeding hungry children with Dave Evans.
Oh man,
I think the rat problem is probably mostly on the north side of downtown.
Yeah,
where you got like most crowded.
as he's trying to feed them, back I say, back I say.
You got the chair like a lion table.
Back I say.
Oh man, he wanted. Well, his wife wanted another one. I guess.
Boy, he's a good man.
Dave, yeah, he is.
Dave is a good man. Because let me tell you something.
Y'all ladies, go ahead.
No. Chanel. She know that wasn't gonna happen. Maybe, I mean, when we first started dating, man, she was like, I'm not having any kids after 30. And I'm like, word? None. I'm not doing it. I ain't doing it. Now imagine we met when we was like 22, 23 years old. And she like, I'm not having no babies after 30. I said, all right, I'm gonna keep that. I've stored that right in the back. She had Grace at 29. Grace was born in April. She made 30 in August. I said, well, we done, right? We done. So, but we have had the conversation. She's like, yeah, I think I could have. Yeah, we could have did it again. I'm like, too late.
Yeah, hold you to your word.
Sorry.
Yeah.
One and done. So, but good. That's good on Dave, man. Dave's a good father. So I'm, he's gonna do his thing.
Yeah, he is. I mean, it's one thing he's devoted, and I think it's good that they do have the backup now with Nura's parents and stuff out there.
Yeah, that is good. That is good, man. I always say, people I used to work with. We used to work with them, and they were like, "Yeah, we having a kid." I'm like, "Are you from here?" It's like, "No, I'm from Iowa, and he's from Minnesota." I'm like, "You take your ass back to Iowa or Minnesota because
Right.
you gonna need the help, and you just up here by
Right.
yourself, and you just la 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 in Chicago. You done met somebody, y'all done get married and bought a condo, and we gonna have a kid. Like, you better take your ass home.
Exactly.
You gonna need that help."
They trying to rely on the co-op in Wicker Park to help them raise their kids.
Oh, go home and find your mama. Hopefully, both the parents are there on each side. Go find them because you're gonna need the help. That's one thing a lot of people don't realize until they have a kid. It's like, and just with one. Like, man, I couldn't imagine if Shanana's parents, wasn't around and because we needed them, help. Especially like I said before, I was in school. I was trying to get, do the radio thing. Chanel had to maybe do something. It was kind of like, man, if we didn't have the help, man, Grace would be out here in the wind somewhere. I ain't no telling what be going on.
And that's one thing that I think we realize as Black folks, like kind of early, that a lot of other coaches may not realize as much as that parenting really does take multiple generations.
It does.
And you gotta lean, like in some cases you absolutely have to lean on your your parents to help you parent kids and stuff like that, because the man or the one person in relationship may not be involved with the rearing as much as you want. So
exactly
that and the whole it takes a village thing is real with us. Like, it's always been that way. So
absolutely.
Like you say, some kids come from families where they don't even mess with their cousins and stuff like that. Like, a lot of white people, like, I found this out online recently, like they be kind of weirded out by the concept of cousins and stuff. And
really?
It's like, yeah, because like look it up. Like, it's like there's sort of a divide there. Not with all white people, but some, like, I think it's like there's a certain Americanization of some cultures where they're just more separated. Because I think when you look at like people like Italians and Irish and people like that, like people who are closer to an older country mentality, they sort of are more down with the cousin stuff.
Yeah, they big families. They all together.
Yeah, bigger. Yeah, but there's sort of like this alienation, I think, that's occurred over the years with certain families that have been in America longer, where there's just like they just sort of keep to themselves.
I think that's part of I think that's part of just the migration. If you have the means to move, like if you were even, I would guess this is going to Black families too. If you have, at one point in time you had the one house, and that particular parents or the grandparents, whoever it may be, had like 4 or 5 kids, right? Let's just say that particular family did well, and kids went to school, they went to college, and they dispersed and never really kind of like brought it back home, never really came back home. I think about my cousin, our cousin Diamond. She's been gone. She went to school, ain't came back. She keeps talking about she coming back, but she ain't came back yet. So, but we were lucky enough in our family for us to be able to go to college, get away, and go to school, whatever like that, in different parts of the country. And some people just don't come back home. And then they make a family down there, and it's kind of like, so what you doing? Saying like, you coming back home if you're talking about having a kid? No? Okay. All right. Well, and some people have been able to navigate it, been able to, not gonna say survive it, but some cases it's damn, they feel like survival. But a lot of people, they kind of like, they find those friends in those cities, and then they lean on those friends and they become their families. You know what I'm saying? So I think it has a lot to do with economic standards, the class of your family, and if you have the means, because lo and behold, hell, all of us grew up on the south side of Chicago. For the majority of us, all of us are still here. in
Yep.
one side of town. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We still in Chicago.
Yeah.
We still in Chicago, and it's
Yeah.
our family is here. So it didn't really matter to us, and we grew up in multi-generational households. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
And you just made me think of something too, because with that discussion, I remember hearing this week about more reporting that's been done on millennials and younger living at home with their parents, and even into adulthood than there's been in a while. So still there's still a very like what you described about going out to college and staying away from the family and being able to formulate your own life in your 20s and stuff. And that's still something that a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But the majority of people at some point right now, I think the number they put in is 52%. Pew Research, there's various reports saying that 52% of young adults reside with one or both of their parents.
Wow.
And this is a September report, and that's up from 47% in January. So February. So we're also talking about what's happened specifically this year.
Yeah.
But still 47% is a high number too.
That's a high number. I mean, okay, so we are the generation millennials. We were kind of like the first millennials, right? I mean, we're
old millennials.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I meant. We're old millennials, right? So, but we are of that generation that student loan debt, really hit us, right?
And now, the price of higher education is
it really hit. And that's when it was kind of like it was really speedballing up, right? So and then like you said too, because you throw in what happened this year, people lost their jobs. Luckily, if you did go to college, I think if you graduated with a degree, it's like 1% unemployment compared to somebody who has a college degree. Has a high school degree. I think it's like 10 to 15. If you don't have a high school degree, it's kind of like 20 to 30 or some crazy number. You know what I'm saying? I'm just basically trying to say it's a huge gap in between each one of them. Yeah. So you will have more people, coming out of college, looking for a job, can't find a job, and they're still living at home. Now it could be a nice little setup. Like I didn't move out of my parents' house, my grandparents' house until I was 24. I think I was 23 or 24 when I finally moved out. But I'm an only child though. So it wasn't like I was stepping on anybody's toes. I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go to work, whatever like that. I'm saving up my money so I can get my own place. Because at first I was trying to find myself I graduated from college, but I was just trying to find a gig within the industry I graduated with, but it didn't happen, right? But I'm an only child, so it didn't work. But it's not shocking though either with that Pew Research poll. The percentages saying like it's over 50%. I'm not shocked by that at all. Not at all. And it wouldn't shock me based on the way things are going. Robots are taking over. Skynet is real. Skynet is real. And robots are taking over people's jobs and stuff. We talked about this plenty of times. The job market, it's there for a particular industry, and you really got to go to school for it, engineering and coding, maybe some blue collar type jobs. But a lot of jobs, man, that were here from bank tellers, cashiers are going to be gone, automated driving cars, trucks, things of that nature. I saw a report, Dave and Kyle, that we're going to start seeing robots like literally rolling around or either walking in big box stores, just putting up stuff. That means those people who once did that, they don't need them no more. So that percentage might go up even higher.
So I could bitch at a robot now when Amazon is late on my Wi-Fi extender next week.
Read the QR code, motherfucker. Read the QR code.
QR, yeah. I'm talking to QR1570. You can read this is in your programming. Son of a bitch.
Scan it, motherfucker. Scan it. Oh man.
What was on the agenda? Did I miss one of the 3 articles we were supposed to discuss?
No,
But
we just kind of talking about you.
we
Just
just
talking about
riffing, man, because we tried to see if you was gonna get away from the babies or not, man.
Yeah.
That's why you went on the tangent. Okay.
All this came from you, Dave. All this came from you.
Oh, okay. The
I think
robot and automated
we're not too far off track. I think let's start off, with let's start off with just some general election stuff leading up, because we were talking about numbers, and I wanted to throw out this number that I see the Washington Post reporting. And the first number I saw earlier this today in the morning was that 51% of the 2016 voting has already been taking place for early voting.
Mm-hmm.
And now I see a headline from them this evening that says that it's up to 53%. So that number is going to be pretty high by the time we get to election day.
Yep.
I plan on adding to it tomorrow. I haven't voted yet, but I plan on doing it tomorrow.
Nice.
And D, you voted already, right?
Yeah, I voted 2 Saturdays ago.
Yeah. And Dave, you voted by mail, huh?
Actually, I'm gonna vote in person. No, I'm gonna vote in person.
Y'all voted in person.
Yeah, I'll vote in person tomorrow.
Yeah, there's been some things like where people are sort of like, at first there was a thing. It was a thing to vote by mail because Trump didn't want it, but now because of the trickery, some people are saying like, you might want to try to vote in person.
Yeah,
and one of the things that I did send y'all, especially regarding the Supreme Court changes and how the conservatives have got that locked down now. They talk about Kavanaugh making this decision, helping in the decision. The decision he was part of the majority decision in Wisconsin, where they're saying in Wisconsin they're going to essentially try to have the vote called on election day, and the absentee ballots won't be allowed after election day.
Nah.
So, and there's some funny stuff going on about that. I'll try to link that up as we go along. But a more positive result to that end that's come across this evening in North Carolina, where and actually in Pennsylvania too, where it looks like the Supreme Court is allowing ballot deadline extensions in those states, and these are both battleground states. So it's important. Like basically, what we're looking at the issue, if y'all ever kept up, is that the Republicans want the votes to be closed on Tuesday. They want anything that can't be counted on Tuesday to be not allowed or not thought of.
Right.
Because their worry is that they want to sweep in on election day, because most of their voters are going to be in-person voters on election day. Whereas, if you look at the numbers, the reports for these early election voting, it's dominated by Democrats, by people voting for Biden,
right,
and whatever. So it's, people on that side are trying to jump ahead, whereas the people on the Republican side, the conservative side, they're kind of moving the goalpost back. They're trying to make a 100-yard field into a 300-yard field or something like, and this is stuff we got to watch out for, man. If you in one of these states, man, you gotta be really aware of what's going on, because there's going to be questions about just what your vote is going to be worth. There's going to be real questions about that. Instead of what people try to say, oh, my vote ain't going to count, but it's going to be really on that level, possibly, if you live in a state like Pennsylvania or Carolina or Wisconsin.
I hope more people are doing what Dave is doing. Like, man, listen, I was going to mail it, but let me just go ahead and take myself down there and do it in person.
Yeah. And what made you change your mind, Dave?
I live on the border of Orange County, and Orange County is still there were some reports of voter tampering in Orange County. So just to be better safe than sorry, just feel more comfortable sending it in person.
Yeah, no, especially I think California had the fake drop boxes.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I voted tampering, but the fake drop boxes.
Yeah. You know what, Cuzzo? You bring up the numbers, and I was actually looking at that today too. Well, not today. I've been kind of like just keeping an eye on it as far as like with the early voting. My prediction, and I'm gonna put this out here right now. My prediction is I believe it's 75 million ballots have been cast. Right, 75 million votes are in. Right, as you said, that's already blown out the numbers for last year's early voting.
Last election,
yes, 2016. Yes, sorry. Thank you, Dave. 2016.
Yeah.
So,
That's we're talking about 53% of the votes of 2016 votes have already been registered. That the number.
Exactly. So there was 120. I think it was 126.8 million votes in 2016 overall. 126.8 million overall, right? We're already at 75. I'm thinking by time, because I believe in a few states you can vote up until that Monday, or the day before the election, for early voting. I have a feeling it might get to like 85 million people, 85 million votes. About 85. I can see another 10 million more votes going in. If that's the case, you're talking about it's well more than half the people who have voted early than will voted overall. You know what I'm saying? Back 2016, come up to 126 million. We already kind of have a feeling that this is going to be a high turnout election anyway. So if I'm the Republicans, I am a little bit more worried because, for one, whenever there's a high turnout, Democrats win. So think about that, everybody out there talking about, oh, my vote don't matter. Think about that. When everybody votes, they lose. And they're trying to suppress your vote. 1 + 1 = 2, right? So if they're able to if these numbers keep going up that high, if they keep going up that high, they won't have enough. I don't think Republicans are going to have enough people to kind of go in and bank on November 3rd. I mean, what you expect, like another 50 or 70 million people to come out and vote on November 3rd? Not that many people even vote, unfortunately. So I think it was like 55.8% of the eligible voters voted in 2016. Let's just say it gets to 60% or 65%. That's still crazy high. But all these people that voted super early, you can't bank that many people on election day. I don't want to get out ahead and say I think Biden was going to win, because I think it's still going to be close, because all these people are
you
can't get comfortable. And plus, all these people are voting, and you don't know who they're voting for. It seems to be Biden, but man, Republicans don't have to have an outstanding November 3rd come out and vote day to be able to catch up on all these votes that the Democrats has banked. It's going to be hard, but I mean, we see what happened last in 2016.
And my main reason for bringing all this up, though, is that I think I would like to see. I'm kind of hoping for this as well, but I think we really have in this year reached that sea change that, if you look at the last couple of election cycles, you start to hear this more and more, where people are like, we shouldn't just be voting on one. We shouldn't just have all this energy focused on one day. We should have at least a week or a weekend. Or the way it looks now, it looks like we're going to really have a voting season.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that's the best way to go forward with the way that our nation is, the way that we have, that our constituencies have to, our voters across the country have to be able to have as much of an opportunity as to vote. They have to be able to be flexible in the way that they're able to vote. It can't be just, I gotta vote on the first Tuesday of November if I'm going to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've seen it as early as September. Votes were coming in this year, so I will be glad to see that be the case going forward. That we continue this up, we build this up, and we make it more official. Where it's like, the fall now going forward is the election season, and especially in the presidential elections, and you have essentially these 6 weeks or so where you can go and you can vote. And if you're registered, you get yourself registered. You do everything the right way on the up and up, and you make sure you're counting. There's no bull. It's no worry about this and thankfully in the future we shouldn't have any candidates who scream about the fix being anything being fixed like Donald Trump had.
Yeah.
Hopefully nobody that foolish is up for presidential election again.
Oh, somebody gonna come back around crazy like that.
Yeah, probably. But but even in the face of that, we should have it established. I think going forward that look, we have an election season, not just an election day. What y'all think about that?
Dave, you can go.
I agree with that, but I think also important, just as important is people, know the other people that are running on the local level, especially know the judges, and also know the initiatives that are the ballot, the proposals that are on the ballot. Here in California, there's some several proposals that are on the ballot that kind of have some negative effects, even though they may have like the best intentions. And it's really important to be educated not just on who the president is, but who the judges who are the judges running, who are your local state government running, so you can
definitely.
We'll make it and not just click off on the one, because those are the people that really control what happened in your states and on the local level. So
and education is big, and I think education, it eventually helps you vote in a way that it's more about your specific wants and needs as a member of the electorate, and it's not just voting down ballot for a specific party or something that really you're not invested in when it's all said and done. It's just you're just marking yourself up as a D or an R instead of just really being involved with, because sometimes the D in that particular race may not be the one you want to vote for.
Right.
And we know the R's in a lot of cases aren't, but sometimes the R may not be as bad as the D. And and that's what, foolishly a lot of these public these rappers and stuff like we talked about, these public voices have tried to get us away from that, from being just voting in their own way. They've stumbled about saying this, but I've agreed for a while too that we shouldn't just be beholden to one party, one whatever, and one side of the public of the aisle. If we just have to vote in our best interest. We have to vote intelligently, and we have to vote. We have to know what our stakes are in these issues, and our stakes are with the candidates and all the ballots.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I think a part of the whole thing is that I don't think a lot of people have enough. One, belief in their own power is, the value of their vote, and then two, just have enough self-interest in it. I think, unfortunately, society that we live in is, there are a lot of distractions. Besides kind of the news media, there's entertainment, there's plenty of apps and things like that to keep us distracted, in addition to our own professional and family pursuits. And I think that's what a lot of politicians bank on, and that's the reason why a lot of them kind of fly under the radar, even though they tend to have negative effects. I mean, there are judges that people just avoid voting on because they don't know who they are. They don't, but they don't know that person may have a bad record when it comes to handing out unfair sentences when it comes to drug offenses or minor criminal offenses, and no one knows that person's record, so they just avoid voting for them. Or it may be somebody who's an alderman that they have no really knowledge as far as the background of that person, or a state rep, and they just tend to fly under the radar. And I think that tends to be kind of a big issue, is that I don't know what needs to be done to motivate people just to be able to really be, inspired to motivate for on the lower, for lower level positions than just the presidential election. I mean, we all know, Trump, whether, he's a polarizing figure. And we also know that, being that he's the leader of the United States, that what's at stake if he's reelected, or, and I think for that's enough motivating factor to go out and vote for him. But what about everybody else is what it really comes down to. Do you know the other things that you should be, voting for or against?
Yeah,
Man,
yeah. It's hard, man. It's hard when you live in Disney World, right? It's hard when I'm dead serious. It's kind of like, man, it's so much happening around you that can take your eye off the ball. Just imagine if everybody was plugged in politically. Not saying that you have to be out there, doing political things, but just understand how politics affects your life, because you might not want to get into politics. You might not want to put yourself into politics, but it's guaranteed politics is going to is going to be in your life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's going to affect you some way, somehow. You might not want to be a part of it, but it's going to be a part of you, right? So it kind of go back to what you said, cuz, about education, and it was two things that hopped out in my mind. One, it's a simple fact of, and you hear this a lot. Oh, civics isn't really taught in school. As when I used to hear that as a young person, I was like, I don't want to, I take social studies, I'm fine, so now that I am older and I am into politics, it's a part of my life. Just following it and understanding what's going on. I now understand those older people back in the day complaining that civics wasn't in our life in school. Me and the wife was talking one day, and I'm like, listen, you could literally have a civics class from kindergarten all the way up to your senior year in high school, and damn near every year could be something different. Because it's so big. And I mean, you could start off with just learning about your alderman and your city council and just kind of going up and up and up. And then high school, okay, freshman year, you learn about the House of Representatives. Sophomore year, you learn about the Senate. Junior year, you learn about the different departments. You have the Justice Department, Supreme Court, all these other kind of things like that. And in the last year, we talking about the executive branch. I mean, you can literally lay that out. And it kind of goes back to what we were saying. It's kind of like what Dave was saying. It's kind of like politicians bank on the fact that people are not educated. They bank on the fact it's kind of like, man, they don't know what's going on. If they only knew what was going on, it would completely change this country. So I think it does go down to education, man. It really goes down to education. And the second point is, it's kind of like, this is where we kind of have these kind of conversations and we try to educate people, or at least make them aware of what's happening. So hopefully they can go out there and they can educate themselves. They're not just kind of like, oh man, I don't want to get into that, whatever like that. Like, okay, you know what? Let me figure out what's going on. Why am I keep hearing this term voter suppression? Why am I hearing about in North Carolina they was targeting black folks on Sunday because they know black folks go vote on Sundays? Why are you trying to black that on Sundays? You know what I'm saying? It's different things. So hopefully somebody will hear conversations like this and like, you know what, let me educate myself. So it's always coming down to education.
I think that, I was gonna say agree. I think that if you get out, if you were part of any of the protests over this past spring, summer, and that you don't go out and vote and you're able to vote, I don't want to say that necessarily that your actions were in vain, but ultimately what creates, what power is, and especially in Chicago, is the vote. I mean, the protests are temporary. I mean, the aftermath of the protests are temporary. And I think that's something that people have to kind of factor in mind, is that, it means something in that moment. But from a long-term perspective, power is in the vote. I mean, people vote, Mike Madigan has been in Chicago politics for 40 years. Doesn't matter how much dirt they caught the man in. He's still in that place because he has a stronghold on his ward. I mean, and I think that's all. And I think that if you're in Chicago and you don't want, to your point, Demas, not engaged in, civics or local politics or have an understanding of it, you really are doing yourself a disservice. Just because it controls everything. You think that ultimately, I mean, when you look at things from our perspective, being black and from the South Side of Chicago, you may say, oh, the police control everything. Police don't control everything. I mean, if you really looking at things kind of on a larger spectrum, it's politicians that control ultimately what occurs or what's allowed to occur. You know, if you have problems in your community, if you feel like you're being mistreated by the police, a person to complain to, if you're not getting any type of resolution at the top end of the police department, the next person is to the mayor. I mean, we've seen the mayor get rid of a couple of police chiefs, over really the past decade at this point. I think it's been 3 in the last decade. And that's really comes, so the power comes from City Hall. And ultimately, you influence that by your vote.
Yep. And voting, and last point, with voting, that's key, but it's only a part of it. Okay, you go out there and vote. Okay, so what happens next? You still have to put the pressure on to try to get those changes that you want. So that's cool. It's great. Go vote. Go to that ballot and cast your ballot for whoever it may be. But that's not where it stops. It keeps on going. This fight never stops. And you look around, you see other communities, and like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like, that's a lot better than what I live in. Not saying the conditions and the systematic racism, yes, that's a part of it. But if you're able to mobilize a vote and be able to try to get people in as like-minded to make those changes, and then still keep putting pressure on them or people around them in power, things can start to change a little bit more. It's harder for us, yes, it is. But I want people to just understand, like, yes, voting is a part. Voting is only a part of the fight. That's put on the gloves, but you still got to throw punches.
Voting and accountability is the second part.
Yes. Accountability. Yep.
The system is based, you could say, either transactions or interactions. You can't just be sitting in the back and saying and making noise and yelling out and saying, well, I want this and I want that, and then just thinking that it's gonna magically appear.
Exactly.
You have to ingratiate yourself with the people who are holding these offices, and you have to make them want to interact with you too. I think what you propose, cause about starting civics education at a lower level and making it something that is foundational to primary education. That would be a great start. And I think, and when I think of something like that, I think of like having aldermen and congressmen and senators go to schools and talk to students and let the students know who they are and what they do. Because I think so many people, when they get to adulthood, when they get to 18 and they're called upon to vote, they think that these people just that we see on TV all the time, that all they do is they get money from certain people and they do what those people do.
Right.
And they don't get money from you, then they're not going to do what you want to do, and that everything happens in this sort of circle of malaise and the cynical circle develops cycle, I should say, that it naturally excuses anyone who isn't in it. And it can be that way, but if you just sit off to the side and you don't do nothing about it, then you got to play the game to win it. You got to play the game to win.
I say treat it just like math. They teach you math all the way up until from kindergarten to you out of college. Just imagine if they didn't do that. It would be a lot of people out there that didn't know how to count, right? You can put political science as a class and teach it right along all the way through. That's how you build an educated society. So that's how you build a society, know how to count, know how to read, things like that. Political science can be just like that. You need that. That's one thing, and I think Americans are definitely lacking in our society is the political science, understanding what's going on. Now you can believe whatever you can believe whatever ideology you want to believe in. I get that, as long as it's nothing destructive and that'll hurt your fellow countrymen. But understanding the mechanism, understanding actually how the government works, oh my God, it would be this country would not be the same if that was in my 2 cents. I don't think this country would ever be the same if you actually added political science from kindergarten all the way up through college. The country wouldn't be the same. You have a very educated society, and they will know when, saying somebody try to get in the office and try to pull some crazy shit, as we seeing right here, because you have a lot of people just don't understand what's happening, and is gullible to go along with somebody they think is telling them the truth.
Well,
Propaganda.
well, yeah. Well, and to your point, I think ultimately what ends up happening, the reason why civics is not taught in schools, because there's been a paring down of subjects in education, and in school systems across the country. Because what a lot of municipalities do is that the first things that when they're running up against budget constraints, the first thing they cut is education. And they pare down to effectively what's considered necessities. So civics is not considered a necessity. So ultimately, for it to be implemented in school is something that people would have to advocate for or potentially vote on to get it added back to the curriculum, or teach their children that independent of whatever school system that they're in, because ultimately that's the way it's going to happen. Unfortunately, like I said, a lot of school systems are based upon whatever, work with whatever financing and funding they get. And that comes whatever municipalities tax budget, tax income that they have to be able to allocate the, funds to programming. And the reality of it is that public schools have just been getting chopped to bits, just really down to a really basic or essential, quote unquote, subject matter.
And you're more likely to see that, unfortunately, under conservative leadership. I mean, you look at the way that Trump's administration and the foolishness of putting Betsy DeVos
at
the head of education in this country. Like, that's where we start. That's where the top is. It just goes on down to where the schools at every level across the country are fighting for proper funding, for proper buildings and stuff like that, for spaces where to the point where under this crisis that we had this year, so many schools don't have good plans for distance learning. There's been reporting I've seen today on the news on television about they got white folks complaining now about sending the kids back to school now. So they showed in Mount Greenwood they had a bunch of white folks marching saying put the babies back in school. So maybe we're gonna get some headway now here in Chicago. But
they say they want the kids back in school. And they don't. They do.
Yeah, they want the kids back in school. They say they got to get the kids back in school because they sick of it. They say
you know what? My wife. Oh, go ahead. What, cousin?
I'll say before. You do got some good stuff to say because your wife is a teacher.
Yeah.
I'll say just to not be so jokey. Part of the argument is that some of the kids, especially like special needs kids and stuff, aren't getting proper education, are getting proper. They are being taught in the way that they need because of the distance and everything. And there have been certain aspects to their education that they're not even getting at all because you can't do it by a distance. You can't do it through a computer. They need more. They need to be attended to more in a different ways. And so that's a big part of what they want. But again with CPS, they're just trying to hold on to what they're trying to do, and they made their stance in the summer before the year, and they're trying to hold on to that instead of just being more responsive to the real needs of all of their kids and their parents' kids and the parents who are trying to hold. No, a lot of parents simply can't stay with these kids anymore. They got to go back to work. They got to do something during their day to make money or support their families too. That's a big issue.
Yeah, and all parents are made for this. It's just like I've heard some horror stories from teachers. It's kind of like, damn, you can't take a picture of your kids' homework. Like you can't do that either. Like you can go on Instagram and post a picture, but you can't put your damn kids' homework on Google. You know what I'm saying? It's like some people just aren't built for it. Just like this country, in my opinion, wasn't built for coronavirus and having been shut down. It's just the individualism it takes over, and it's like kills anything collectively. It's like some people just aren't built for it. And it's kind of like, yeah, take my kid. I can't do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't want to hear that, but I've said plenty of times to the missus, like, I don't think y'all going in because look at these numbers. Are we really going to be sending these kids back to school, or if teachers want to go back to school when you having hundreds of people? It's getting as bad as it was in the summertime. You look outside, you think it's worse. Yeah, I mean, in the summertime, you could fly down the damn Ryan, nobody be out there. It's getting just as bad, but people were just out and about like, bump this. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Oh, really? Okay, all right. Rona gonna get you too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's definitely I think it's definitely a bad situation for people to be in, and I think it's something that's just a challenge for anyone as a parent, no matter where you live. If you live in the States or if you live internationally, it's, being cooped up in a house or definitely being cooped up in an apartment for a long time with your children. It's a challenge. I mean, it's having school was the, reprieve for a lot of parents. And then, without it, you don't have any structure. It kills the structure to your day. Is really what it comes down to. And if you're in an industry where you have to go outside of your house to work, you're even at more of a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Dude, I just love how everything is coming back this week. Like we got Corona's make the comeback and it's overtaking everything again. And Trump for some reason thinks that it's not going to be reported on after election day. So he thinks that it's all the reporting is a ploy to make him look bad. He doesn't need help to make himself look bad.
No. And the sheer number of people are dying by the hundreds. Dying. Yeah, they gonna keep on reporting that Agent Orange.
Well, another thing that's coming back, we got police shootings coming back again.
Have they ever left?
Not really, but but you got the joint the young man in Waukegan gets shot up and died.
Yeah.
The young man apparently who was dealing with some mental issues out of Philadelphia. That the rioting is what mainly what I'm talking about that's coming back because there's been some issues in Philly about that. And Biden had a less than stellar answer to that. They sort of threw the TMZ question at him. He was running out of someplace and they caught him saying
he gave the TMZ.
They gave the TMZ question. Like he was running out someplace. They asked him about cause I guess he was campaigning. I guess he wasn't in Pennsylvania. That's a key state for him. Mm-hmm. And he said something to the degree of not supporting rioting and protecting property or something like that.
But are you surprised that he gave that answer though?
No, I'm not. No, I don't know what anybody is.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like this close to the election. This is a swing state. Of course, somebody threw you to Biden, black folks, looting. What you got to say? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm sure, you know what I'm saying? He got that question, but I'm not shocked that he gave a very political, safe answer.
Yeah. The question becomes what that is probably a politically safe answer. Mm-hmm. I mean, to be honest, yeah, I think that he's not. If you're really looking at whose vote he's trying to pull in Pennsylvania, he's not pulling black people's vote in Pennsylvania is not what his target audience is. Exactly. So I mean, as much as we may feel a certain way as far as that's not the right answer, yeah, I mean, you at this close to the election, he can't come out and say, well, you know what, police violence is unacceptable, and this shouldn't have happened. Those officers acted wrong, and that's the reason why these people are responding this way. That's not going to happen. That it's just not. I mean, whether it's him,
he should say that, but he ain't gonna say it. Yeah.
If it was him, or even if they caught Kamala, not the answer the politically safe answer is what was going to end up coming out. I mean, really, this is not. I mean, I don't know. This is not a country where we're the majority, where African Americans are the majority. African Americans vote in droves. None of those situations exist. So, am I going to jeopardize, a swing state, just so I can make some people feel good in Philly or wherever primarily Black people live in Pennsylvania, which I'm considering is Philadelphia and maybe Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The answer is no. I think that we have to. I don't know. I tend to think, while it's not necessarily the most popular thing, I don't agree. Yeah, while I agree with you guys, I mean, the reality of it is, no, he's not going to go risk a swing state just so we can get make some things so he can give the false facade that he's with BLM or whoever, because that's not going to happen. Because the truth to be told, it's not like that's going to swing Black people's views of him in the first place. Even if he said that, it's not going to have. Right. It's not. Yeah. It's not like every Black people are going to say, "Oh, you know what? Now he's with us." That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
He's not John Brown. He's not even Gary Owen. But he's gonna be a guy who's gonna be responsive to. He's gonna be more responsive than the guy we got in office now. To
exactly
lesser two evils.
Yeah, and like we talked a little bit about that before. Like you got to be an adult about these things, man. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And it'd be nice if he was more progressive, but he's a 70, early, late 70, 78, 70. He's a late 70s year old man.
Yeah.
And that's an issue that I think we do have to deal with, having representation that is more in line with the electorate and the people who, like I say, the people who are really making the nation churn right now. And who we want to be representing more younger people, more diverse people, but Biden stepped up eventually. He argued could have stepped up in 2016, but he stepped up eventually. He was back then he was dealing with a little more things with his family and stuff. So it kind of it was excusable for him not to step up and want to deal with what he was dealing with, but he stepped up in this cycle. He's put on a good enough performance, I think, to where I don't think unless you're just a burn it all down person, I don't see how he betrayed anything that you would want. If you're the average Black American, you should be able to vote for Biden with little to no conscience. You know what I mean?
Hey,
so
as I always say, I'm voting against white supremacy.
Right. And sometimes you gotta vote against something as much as you gotta vote for something.
Exactly. Hey, real quick. Real quick. I didn't know Philadelphia. I learned this today. They don't. The cops up there. They don't use tasers. They had it like it's like coming up. They like passed a bill to eventually let them get tasers, but it hasn't been enacted yet. And that's why I ain't gonna say that's why they shot the man. They shot him because they
helped, probably.
Yeah, they don't know what they was doing. They couldn't deal with saying what was happening with that young man. Unfortunately, he's Black, and then we see videos of them doing, bringing in a white person who's willing a gun or a knife and beating their asses. They don't kill them. But I didn't know that Philadelphia, they cops don't use. They didn't have tasers. They didn't have them. That's wild to me. Like in 2020, you have a major city, Philadelphia is a major city. Never been there before.
Yeah.
But Philadelphia is a huge major city, and the cops didn't have tasers. That kind of shocked me.
It's only you only going one way. If you want it to be one way, but it's the other. That's in the words of Marlowe.
Mm-hmm.
For the white.
Exactly. I think that's a great line. If you're quoting a line when he was stealing the lollipop out of the grocery store and he was talking to the guard and he had the face off with the guard. He said, "You want it to be one way,
but it's the other." Yeah.
I think that's a great way to summarize 2020. Just in general.
Good point.
Yeah. I think that ultimately what's going to come out of a lot of the civil unrest is hopefully there'll be some police reform.
I hope so.
I think, I mean, if nothing else, I think that's something that hopefully will come out of it. Because the way police, address, people with mental health issues, and just domestic interactions in general is problematic. I mean, I don't think that needs to be. I think that's a given.
It's a given to us, Dave. I don't know if it's a given to anybody else.
I don't even know if it's a given. I think it's a given to people who, who are not on the extreme, who are not on the, who are not, on the other side of the fence. I think with video, I think you really have a lot more of that now. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't have the kind of marches you wouldn't have. To your point, I mean, the marches that you do see are, I mean, they're a rainbow of colors. You know what I'm saying? There's everybody out there doing their thing. So no, you're right about that.
Yeah.
Is that Malia or
no? That's Layla. That's Layla. She's just coming in to take my root beer. That's all. But yeah, no, yeah. So I think there's definitely more of a sympathetic view of people in general on police shootings.
Yeah, I think it's formed. Is you could say that it's going to be the defining civil rights issue of our day.
Yeah,
whereas in the past we were dealing primarily with segregation and housing and workplace issues and stuff. Now we gotta fight head
on top of police brutality. Yeah,
but it was never like there's never been like a fight. That's always been the fight in the streets and stuff. But on a political level, it's never been any push against police violence in the halls of justice.
Right.
Right. Got you.
Yeah,
it costs too much money, man. Just think about it. All these folks, we got to pay out millions upon millions of dollars for some police officers that's out there doing wrong and don't know what the hell they doing or doing.
And you would think that for these municipalities, that would be reason enough.
You would think so. Millions.
To be like, we got to change some shit up.
Millions, right?
You can't. So, I mean, the thing is this: people don't understand is that a lot of the police labor unions are the strongest powers, especially strongest union group, especially since the Teamsters went away. A lot of coming from a union job background myself. I mean, yeah, they wield a lot of power, and ultimately, the people who are, if you start taking disciplinary action against the people that's supposed to protect you, ultimately it creates a bit of a backlash. And I mean, even in Chicago in previous summer, especially during the COVID, so with COVID is that every time there was a backlash against the police and police misconduct, brutality, you'd see a correlation between, violence spiking or just unresolved, not violence spiking, but unaddressed increases in violence in the city.
Yeah.
And ultimately, a lot of police were doing the Proud Boys approach, which is stand down and stand by, because of that, because their mindset is if they weren't going to be, appreciated or supported by local government and by the public, that they weren't going to provide the same level of service or the same level of protection that they had previously, because they felt like it was, potentially risk of doing so. From a career perspective, and maybe it's just certain cases where they felt like they weren't unappreciated. So it didn't make any sense for them to put the same level of effort in. And I think that's something that just has to kind of be factored in, is the reason why those payouts, the payouts necessarily is not enough for a lot of municipalities to create police reform, because ultimately, they're kind of, I don't want to say they're scared of the police unions, but I think the police unions for them are a bit of a challenge to navigate, invoking their ire, for lack of a better term.
They're in a lot of ways, they're modern sentinels. They are and this is why Watchmen as a series works so well in regard to applying it to police violence. What you probably did last year is that who watches the Watchmen. And
right,
our society still, we have to figure out a way to deal with these people who does so much of this work that the average citizen doesn't want to put upon themselves.
Yeah.
And that I think there's feelings of guilt mixed in, and there's feelings of just not wanting, like I say, not wanting to deal with displacement, not wanting to deal with this stuff. Let these folks deal with it, and they feel. I think too many people who are in that job feel empowered, not necessarily empowered, but uh they feel in the right to do whatever they want to do to survive each shift that they go out to. And they I heard I gotta cite my man Bomani Jones on this. He said that we gotta he said in the discussion to this degree that we gotta rethink the way that we think of heroes as people who put on who take on public service jobs like the police, because a hero doesn't go out and do something just so they could get a check and make it home the next day. They do something willingly. They put their lives on the line willingly, knowing that that's the case, and they don't punk out in the end and do things that make it I gotta survive versus you gotta survive situation. And you compare it to firemen, where most firemen, when they're in the heat of danger, when they have to do what they signed up to do as a fireman, they go into flaming buildings, literally knowing that their life is going to be on line. But their job is to get as many people out safely as possible. If they worked as policemen, imagine how if they worked as policemen do. Imagine how so much changes in that situation. Well, as soon as the fire, if you thought like a policeman in that situation, as soon as some fire licks on you, then hey, I'm out.
I'm out.
Everybody for themselves,
So, from based upon my personal experience, I think what ended up happening and kind of like in previous generations is that being a police officer was a very blue collar job. And it was traditionally a very job where it was kind of like for a lot of people who were Catholic, Catholic, Irish Catholic, where, you had a couple opportunities, career opportunities. You weren't smart enough to become a doctor or a lawyer. You went into law enforcement. What's happened in the last 2 decades, in kind of the modern era, if you want to call it that, of policing, or at least in the 21st century policing, is that in a lot of major metro markets like Chicago, and Los Angeles and New York, it's become financially lucrative to be a police officer. And, back, I even, can just kind of use an example standpoint. I think when my father started as a police officer, 34 years ago now, I think he mentioned his first year, it was like $26,000. So starting salary for, a police officer in 2020 is about threefold. It's close to threefold that. And median salary is 4 times that. So there are a lot of industries, especially with the economy shrinking and, well-paying jobs shrinking, to your original point, is that it's adding people to that job pool who previously didn't exist there. You're getting a higher percentage of women in law enforcement. You're getting people in law enforcement who wouldn't have been in that space before. So you're getting people that in times in the past where they may have went to their fists, they may have or been a little less scared to, a little bit more reserved in shooting, because they understood some of the inherent risks of the jobs, and that was just a part of their nature to deal with it. Now you have a little bit more diverse, a body of people that are police officers. So I think, whereas they're not all made of the same metal, so to speak.
Yeah. That goes to undercut the idea more of being a policeman of equating it with heroism. Like, there's definitely room to be heroic in that job.
We hear stories about that. Yeah,
there's definitely it happens all the time. Policemen save lives all the time. But when you're in a position where these policemen are who kill black people and brutalize people who have mental deficiencies and stuff like that, then you're not in it for that same reason. You're not living up to the ideals of the job.
So I think a lot of the cases I think it's clear. I think it's really important to be clear that a lot of the incidents that have happened that caused riots, in most cases, with the exception of Derek Chauvin, have been shootings. And I think the difference between a shooting and suffocating somebody is if there's an inherent cruelty in it, and one requires and one's based upon a fear-based reflex, and one's based upon intentional harm. I don't necessarily. In both cases, they're both bad because they both have the same outcome. I think that a part of the ones where you have these accidental shootings, or these fear-based shootings, is that you ultimately need to identify what's your skill set, or if this is the right position for you before you get in that place. Can you deal with someone who has mental health issues without the outcome being fatal? Can you pull somebody over in a traffic stop without going to, and be able to, and without going to your gun? If you feel like that person is going to reach for a glove box, can you control your reflexes? Can you control your emotional triggers? To kind of share, to make an analogy for it, is like a big part of my job is calling people I don't know and doing it at a high level of repetition. And traditionally, that's something that induces fear in a lot of people. To call strangers and ask them for something is something that's fear inducing. What determines the success and failure in my business is largely being able to get over that fear, to get over that reflex of fear of speaking in Spanish to people you have no connections with, and essentially asking for something from them, or So I think there's a little bit of an analogy there. Is really getting over that fear for you to be successful in that business.
But to that degree, I think there should be different type of policemen. I think there should be different type of, every policeman shouldn't be a sentinel. Some should be public safety officers. Some don't need guns. I would say.
Well,
I say some. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, I agree with that. I think the issue at hand is that there's only so many desk jobs for them.
No, but I'm not even talking. I'm talking about people on the street who don't need guns. Like every situation that comes about, just because someone is yelling or raise their voice or there's a dispute in the street, it don't mean that you need 4 cars worth of people with guns to just sit on them.
But the problem is because we live in the country when there's more guns than people. And
that's at the heart of our function as a nation. Yeah,
exactly. So you put yourself in the shoes of a police officer. Yeah, I want a piece on me because that person might have a piece on them, because everybody, saying in this country, damn near not everybody has a gun. That's not true, but there's so many guns out there. That's why it always baffles me.
It's not hard to mobilize though either. It's not hard for the police to mobilize in a given situation.
Oh no.
So I'm saying the first people who come out, because a lot of these situations, you are talking about maybe 2 or 3 cops at a scene, and then and the tragedy happens within that. It's not a SWAT team like what they used to have in LA, where they used to have the battle rams and stuff.
Right.
That was a distinct militarization. Yeah. But a lot of times when we see these situations happening, we're seeing just one scared cop by themselves and they shoot someone. And then it becomes their word against the brother.
Exactly. And thankfully you have somebody who has a videotape, and saying that's how you get to the state we're in right now in this country, because now you can see this happening. To David's point, that's what's changing a lot of people's minds. But what I was going to say is it baffles me, but I can understand why it doesn't happen. You would think the police departments, chiefs, superintendents, whatever the case may be, will be the first ones. They're quick to say, like, oh man, these criminals shouldn't have all these guns. But you think they'd be the first ones to come out and say, like, all these Americans don't need these guns. This is the issue that we're in daily. We have a fear for our lives because politicians want to placate to the gun lobby, the NRA, some very right-wing parts of their constituency, saying, I gotta have my gun. It's mine. I gotta have my gun. I feel safe with it. I want to be able to my Second Amendment right. You would think more law enforcement agencies would be on the side of Americans to say, y'all don't need all these guns. You don't need these guns because if you brandish one or it's one out there illegally or whatever, we're going to kill you. You know what I'm saying? And we don't want to die. So you would think that I would think logically it was like, okay, you would think that would happen, but I understand why it's not going to happen. Because you know why? Because if things get better, even in low income, urban or rural communities, they lose their jobs. To Dave's point, it was a blue collar job.
That's when we get back to industry.
Exactly. They'll lose their jobs if things get better. If Inglewood or Austin or West London, wherever the case may be, if those communities turned into High Park or Mount Greenwood, whatever like that, the number of police officers would shrink. And that also means they will lose jobs. So that's the kind of dichotomy that I think a lot of people are trying to kind of break down. It's like, damn, you think you'll be out there trying to get these folks to have all these guns, but at the same time, you want to all these folks to have these guns because that's how you keep your job.
Well, I don't know when Inglewood will ever be Mount Greenwood but I think that a part of
anything can happen, Dave. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I hope we're still alive when that comes to
it does, right?
When it happens. Yeah, I hope we're still alive to talk about it. But I think the issue at hand is one. A lot of people don't know about, at least the Chicago Police Department, about at least 25% of them are on disability. I mean, so like a lot of the roster, comes from what is not layoffs, but when also the turnover from retirement and also on the disabled roster. So they're actually probably understaffed. I mean, if we're to be candid about it, I think the issue at hand is that there's a disconnect. I don't even know if it's the guns as much as it is. It's a disconnect. There's self-segregation. The police office, a lot of the police officers come from communities where they live next to no one who looks like the people that they're policing in many cases,
like your occupiers.
I mean, the people who live in Mount Greenwood, who live in Jefferson Park, who live in Garfield Ridge, they go, police in Inglewood, South Shore, Greater Grand Crossing, what have you, and none of the people that they're policing look like their neighbors. And they also, in many cases, didn't come from those communities or those backgrounds. So they have no connection to the way the people in those communities live. Mm-hmm. So it's all an abstraction to them. And ultimately, it ends up seeing as abnormal. It's an abnormal environment for them. So they have limited ability to relate to the people that they're interacting with because they don't come from those communities. So they can't understand, kind of to your point earlier, when you're making about the, having children out of wedlock, they don't understand the larger social issue that comes from having children out of wedlock.
Or they're plainly insensitive to them.
Either way, you're right. They're desensitive. They're insensitive to it. They don't understand why the people in the communities that they're policing can't get their lives together, why they can't find viable jobs, why can they not, find alternatives to being involved in the legal trades. They don't understand that. They don't understand it, or they don't, and in many cases they understand it, but they don't care. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a part of what the challenge is as much as the guns is one issue. I think a lot of the disconnect comes from just being, not living in the communities where you police at.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I wish it was a way you could say, if you're going to police in Inglewood, you need to live in Inglewood. I wish you could do that. I don't think they have the ability to. Of course,
keep them in the city.
Exactly.
Yeah, Chicago. That tends to be the thing about Chicago. If all Chicago police officers could live in the suburbs, they would.
Yep.
The closest they can do is live on the border. So they all live around the border.
And if one or two actually lived on the block, you wouldn't have as many issues because, like, we have a police officer. What did you say, Dave?
That's not always true.
No. I was just about to say this. We do have a cop that lives on our block, and I in my neighborhood, it isn't hot by no means. But I'm just saying, if you had a presence there, not so much of seeing them as police officers, but just a part of the community.
Seeing them as people.
Seeing them as people, and then and it's vice versa. Now you see this person as a human being. It goes hand in hand. It's kind of harder to shoot someone that you just was in line with to buy some milk. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, it's a different perspective. So when you're not living with you're not living with amongst the people who, and they feel that you are occupiers, you're going to have that contention off back. It's
of course.
I mean, but yeah, it's America.
Let's break it up, guys. We got a lot more we're gonna go into next week. It's gonna be the big after the election show. Maybe mid-election show. Actually, we'll see. Even though it'll be on Wednesday.
Hey, real quick. I think we actually going to know who's the president quicker than most people think, because how many people are early voting. I don't know if it's going to be that drastic of a number on election day that you won't be able to find out. I bet you. I think we would probably know within 1 week who's the president.
I hope so, and I think like the numbers that we talked about earlier, the early vote numbers may reflect that, and that may be a positive thing. But I want to go out on this, something more positive. Apparently, People Magazine is reporting that 65% of pet owners are voting with their pet in mind.
What?
So I figure D, that you may be voting with your dog in mind.
A dog and cat. I got a dog and a cat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying, were they on your mind when you went into the voting booth?
Did I think of Cookie?
Cookie, yeah.
Cookie and Gabbana.
Cookie, yeah. Cookie's got some very, very strong political ideas. I know.
She looked at me in my eyes. She said, "Listen, she said, come down here close to my bulldog level." No, I did not. I know some people are very mindful of their dogs. You know what? I can see on this level. I guess it depends on where you live, and if some particular politician or a candidate is saying that they're going to like get rid of some park, but the park is like a dog park. I can even, you know what? I can bring that to home right here. Jackson Park over in Jackson Park.
Yeah.
A guy basically made 2 tennis courts. I think it was tennis courts that they weren't doing anything with. They was abandoned basically. The park district abandoned this lot, these over off of Lakeshore Drive, and the guy just simply started bringing things over to this abandoned tennis lot and made a dog park out of it. Right. So I remember one time.
That's how that started.
That's how it started. So it's all free. The city has nothing to do with it. It's almost sort of like, you ever see around, I know in my neighborhood, when I grew up in Inglewood, you know how you had a vacant lot, and all of a sudden the person who lived next to the vacant lot is a fence around the vacant lot. Yeah. It's kind of like, did you buy that? Hell no, I ain't buy that. I just put a fence up. You know what I'm saying? Is the city basically just wants you to take care of it because they don't want to take care of it. And they figure, I guess if somebody come by, you got to go take your fence down. But until then, have at it, you know? So I think the city treated it like that as well. It's like, listen, it's not an eyesore. It's fine. We ain't gonna mess with you. Just go ahead and have it. Now, it hasn't happened yet, but you have the President Obama libraries coming up around here very soon, and they keep talking about Tiger Woods redoing Jackson Park, the golf course, and making it to like an 18-hole PGA style golf course. So one day we was there with Cookie, and the guy who made the park brought all the people together. He said, listen, I'm trying to fight against the city because they want to take the dog park away and make the driving range longer because they're redoing the golf course. If you could talk to the alderman, please let them know that you want to keep the park here. Yeah. So I guess if it's in that situation and an alderman's running saying, I'm getting rid of this dog park, get out of here, Fido. You know what I'm saying? Or something. And then you have some person saying like, no, I use that park. My dog loves to go to that park. I met a lot of people who will be my constituents at that park. We should keep it. I guess that's the only way I can think of it. But I don't know if Cookie is gonna tell me to vote for Trump over Biden. Cookie wouldn't be here no more. Cookie be on the streets. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, I think we'd have to have some reports on Cookie if that was the case.
Right. So that's the only way I think maybe you can understand that. Maybe.
Well, the old saying is all politics is local, and maybe we could add that it also has fleas. So
yeah.
But,
hey man, you'd be surprised how many people take into account what the animals in their life or in the wild. I mean, it's very serious to a lot of people. We should conserve the wildlife and things of that nature because you don't want to destroy the ecosystem in no way, no how. But some people are very passionate about that. Yeah.
And like you said, that whole all that stuff around Jackson Park and with the Obamas and the development that people are looking to make down there has been an issue for a few years.
Wow. So yeah. A lot of people over there not with that library there.
Yeah, it's still a lot that's got to be figured out there. But fellas, I'm gonna let y'all go. Dave, I know you gotta take care of some stuff, man. So thanks for joining me once again.
Congratulations, Dave. Baby
number 2.
Start preparing for the new pup. And
Dave, are you hoping for a boy?
Yeah,
Dave actually knows.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's a boy.
Y'all okay? Y'all already know too. Oh, congratulations, man! You got a boy. You finally got your boy.
I told him he got some backup. He's not too sure about it, but he gonna have some backup. He got all them girls now. He got a boy to hang out with.
There you go.
They're a little while off, but yeah, that's someday.
Yeah. But congratulations, Dave, man.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, just happy for you, man, and let's hope that everything that a brighter future develops for you and all your seeds, as we figure this stuff out in the next week with this election and stuff, man. So you see this video, you know where we stand, man. Go out and vote, go out and exercise your right, go out and do something to put out your vision of a better tomorrow, man. Don't just be out here complaining and stuff, man. Do actually put in the work, man.
If you want a bitch, had a right to bitch. Go vote.
Right. So that's all we gotta say, man. Next time we see you, hopefully we'll know that the country's in better hands. But until then, we gonna keep on speaking and saying what we gotta say, and like I said, we'll wrap up everything tomorrow. Hopefully, next week. Hopefully, we'll wrap up everything and keep you up on what's going on still. So that's it for now, man. War on Anchor, War Media. You can search us on all the sites. And weareregalradio.com, of course. Yeah, and read DeMon's piece. We still got it up on the Supreme Court. And we could talk a little bit more about the Supreme Court because there's the whole thing about is the court gonna be packed with more judges if Biden wins and stuff. So that's another thing that you may want to think about it if you haven't haven't put in your vote yet. Think about that future, what you want to see in the highest court in the land, because it's important. It's already been transformed in a big way because we let maybe the worst president in modern history put 3 judges on the top court, man, and now it's a 6-3 advantage for the conservatives out there. So that's going to be meaningful, whether you think so and whether you up on these issues or not, it's going to be meaningful. So do the knowledge, man. Do the knowledge for real.
Absolutely.
Vote. Yeah. All right, we'll see y'all, man, next week, man. Hopefully we'll all survive it, man.
Peace.
All right.